Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George. You're listening to our non-spoiler review of Captain Marvel with the boys Connor.
Hello.
And Benny.
Hi there.
Well, we've just come out of the screening, guys. The 21st film in the MCU is here. The first female-led film in the MCU, plus the first female-directed film. This is really cool stuff. The film before Endgame, lots and lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to have a full spoiler episode up in a couple days once everyone's got a chance to see it. So this is our non-spoiler review. Let's get into it by catching up on how everyone was feeling on the trailers and the preamble. Who are we going to first? Who is feeling like they want to talk?
So anytime we kind of lead up to a Marvel film, I get just kind of a base level of excited. We're at a point where every single edition seems to add something interesting to the overall mythos of the MCU. And I love how this world has expanded and how it's connected and all that kind of stuff. So any new film is a chance for that to continue, and I get naturally excited for that. This one in particular, or this one specifically, I felt as though it had a lot of expectation set upon it. It's right before Endgame. It's coming off the back of Ant-Man, which I was very kind of lackluster on. So there was a lot of expectation for this film to deliver, which always makes me a bit nervous. But the trailers so far are I really enjoyed it. I thought that they had a relatively good mix of humor and action in the trailers. They were leaning into the whole female-led film thing, which in these cases, kind of as a more cynical person, I tend to think is just more marketing and PR than actual genuine, feminism or pro-women's rights or whatever you want to call it. So I get a bit skeptical that they're going to lean too much into it, but it seems as though they were keeping that kind of natural and organic. So yeah, I was going into this really kind of very excited, excited/apprehensive.
What were you apprehensive about?
Just because it had big shoes to fill. Like, okay. I mean, it was right before Endgame.
Yep, gotcha.
And it had come after a movie that wasn't feeling as though it was the best of the bunch.
Yeah, totally. How are you, Benny? How are you feeling on the trailers?
I'm not far off where you were, Connor. We've talked about the trailers extensively on the show, but I think I liked each one more than the last, which was definitely encouraging. George, I feel like you felt like the opposite.
I was flip-flopping.
Yeah. My concern was after the absolute slam dunk that was Infinity War. And I don't know why I always just kind of forget about Ant-Man. That came so quickly after Infinity War and was such just kind of a low-stakes thing. So this movie in particular just felt like this in between those two films, Endgame and Infinity War, and it would just... I wasn't worried about the film necessarily, but more just worried about the potential outcome of this being a stumble in between those. So, yeah, while I thought the movie looked good, there was just that slight bit of apprehension there. And also, I felt like the trailers, for all of the talk of Captain Marvel being, the first female hero in the MCU, like title character, I don't think the trailers gave that much indication of who she was going to be and how good she was necessarily going to be.
How good as I mean, like how powerful or how?
No, just how interesting of a character, or like, because that's the Marvel brand is built on characters, like nothing else. Just these great characters, and introducing a new character this late in the Endgame was potentially worrisome. Yeah, that's where I was.
Yeah, I was pretty similar, except I think I liked the trailers a lot less than you guys. I was a lot more randomized. I think there was about 4 trailers, so loved one, didn't like the other one, really didn't like the other one, and thought the other one was okay, something to that effect. And I completely agree with you guys. The thing about this one that was concerning me was how it was going to fit into the MCU and where we're at in the MCU storyline, in that we've got a character if you go back to Infinity War and go back to that end credit scene, it's all about Captain Marvel. And this is a character that's obviously going to play a huge role in Endgame. And it was kind of like, they're introducing her now? The one before, is this going to be the one that they are going to screw up?
They've got a lot to like give you in terms of who this character is before they bring her in Endgame, because they can't have her, we can't develop her as a character within Endgame. These movies are not where you're meant to be, introducing a hero. I mean, they spent as much time as they could with Thanos, but that made sense because he was the bad guy. He was the person that you wanted to build up. You knew all the other characters, and that's why it worked as such a good film. If they spend, a lot of time catching us up on Captain Marvel, I think that would have been, it just wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. So I think now getting into the non-spoiler part of the review, I think the first topic of conversation is Captain Marvel. How is everyone feeling about the character of Captain Marvel? And guys, there's a lot of spoilers in this, so we're really going to make sure that we keep this very clean.
Yeah.
We really don't want to give anything away.
If our audio skips and the video kind of like jerks around, it's George has just gone to it with it like a fucking chopping. So yeah, we'll try and do this without spoilers at all.
Hence the non-spoiler title.
Captain Marvel, I thought was really good. I mean, it is I think the first thing to get out of the way. I was really engaged. I thought she was very witty, funny, kind of the just a really good, solid lead in a superhero film.
She was in a lot of ways a very atypical Marvel hero. She's the kind of quippy badass that every other one of them is, to varying degrees. That being said, I agree. I think she was like really well portrayed from every angle. There's hooks to this movie with her character and her backstory and her development, which not every Marvel movie has, especially the sequels, where you generally get in your top tier Marvel movies, you'll get a good character arc for the character, and that'll be done by the end of the movie. Then you'll get 6 movies after that where they're just kind of flatlining, not necessarily in a really bad way. They're still the entertaining character, but they don't have a lot of more growth. I thought Captain Marvel had an arc to her that was high end for the Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I agree.
I was actually going to say the exact opposite, which is I agree that she's kind of the atypical Marvel character, but I felt as though, and because we've just seen this film, I feel like I want more time to mull this over, so I may regret going down this avenue. But if you look at someone like Iron Man, there's something really cathartic about seeing someone who is a shitty person come to a self-realization that they should be better and bettering themselves, which is, I think, one of the reasons why I always preferred, at least in Phase 1, Iron Man over Captain America, because Captain America was just good. And there's nothing really overly entertaining about watching someone be good for 2 hours. It's really great seeing, kind of deep personal development. And with this one, I felt like the character was closer to Captain America than Iron Man. And we can get in a little bit more detail as to why when we jump into spoilers. But the overall kind of arc of the character, I thought, was more to do with the things around her than her progressing as a character herself.
It was about her learning about herself. It's an identity. It's a discovery of identity.
But I feel like a lot of that has to do with plot around her. It's not a self-realization.
Disagree completely. I think that was the entire theme of the film. And I think it was pretty successfully executed as well. I completely agree that it's not like a character growth in that sense of someone being like
it's not a change. It's not like a change in allegiance or a change in attitude. It's a self-discovery.
Yeah, and I thought for this being the first female-led Marvel movie, I thought that was a cool angle to go with, and I thought they really hit the themes of just kind of the vague feminist talking points that they've been hitting surrounding all the press for this film. I thought they they tackled that stuff in her character really gracefully, which was a concern for myself as well as you, Connor, going into this, that they would be hitting it too hard on the head.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well tackled through her.
Yep. And I liked the mystery in this movie. I loved the discovery of more about Captain Marvel. I really wasn't that interested in this character going in. As you said, Benny, the trailers, it was like, what is this all about? Like, it's very vague. It almost felt like an phase 1 kind of movie. And really, I'm so satisfied with what they did.
Yeah, this is the biggest like kind of branching out into new territory that the MCU has done in a while. Because even in between all the sequels and stuff, well, it's been a lot of Earth-based and
yeah. There's a lot here in terms of like non-linearity that I really enjoyed, and it kept me guessing the whole way through.
Yeah, and I really think, and I can't wait to talk about this in our separate spoiler review, but I really think that this movie, more so than most, especially like first outings for characters, strengthens the entirety of the MCU in a lot of ways. Like continuity-wise, I thought it did a really interesting job of fleshing out a bunch of other things from other movies. And
I felt like at points in this movie I was like, this feels like a phase 1 movie, and then you got a lot of stuff with the Guardians of the Galaxy universe being incorporated in, and it felt like this really cool melting pot of everything that's come from phase 1 to phase 3 and put in this new context, and I really, really enjoyed that. Let's move on. So, I mean, that for me, that box, that concern and that apprehension is fully ticked now in terms of my concerns with bringing this character in for Endgame and stuff. Me, I'm fully satisfied. What else do you guys stuck out about this in the non-spoiler component of the review?
So I will say that, and this kind of follows on from the points that you were just making about it feeling very much like a phase 1 film. I think that it does feel a lot like a phase 1 film.
Is that bad? Like in a bad way? Or?
See, I'm trying to figure that out now, because in I guess the age of Infinity War and Civil War, I feel like phase 3 has been defined by a pretty tight-knit kind of, thoroughfare for the plot.
Hey, his favorite.
That's my favorite word.
Some of that thoroughbred.
Not thoroughbred, mate. And this one, more so than any other film, and I'm sure that I'm just not thinking of one, felt like its own thing that didn't as directly contribute to the main storyline that phase 3 seems to have been advancing.
Yeah, it's a setup. It's a setup.
Yeah, and
because you're going back into the 90s.
Yeah, and it very much is a phase 1 film, and I get the appeal of going back into phase 1 now. I'm just trying to figure out if I like that or not, because I've come to expect in phase 3 kind of give me more information about, or give me some more movement on this main plot. I'm hungry for it. I want to know what happens post Civil War to Endgame. Like, that's the meat of the MCU as far as I'm concerned right now. And this one did feel like a departure back. We're gonna tie off a couple of loose ends. We're gonna talk about a character that'll come in later and all this kind of stuff. And I understand the necessity of it. And once I actually rest on it a little bit, I might even find it not only necessary but genuinely enjoyable. But I'm just trying to figure that out right now.
Well, it's the funny thing about this movie, because I think it in a lot of ways does do what you're asking of it, but backwards, because it's a prequel, which we all knew going in. But like, something that struck me immediately about this movie is that stylistically, it's designed to fit in right with the Guardians films. Like the typeface of when a planet's introduced is exactly the same as from those movies. You see bits of technology that we've seen in those films as well. So it's clearly fleshing out that side of the MCU very specifically.
The cosmic, cosmic verse.
Yeah, and
but with that phase 1 feeling, like that it was Earth. It was Earth-centric for components of it. And I liked how it was kind of like, it wasn't doing what you wanted it to do, Connor, but it was kind of like joining the dots for these other things that made it really, for me, this makes the MCU feel very, very robust and really pads a few things out that I really appreciated.
So here's a question, and this might even be the time to ask it. But if you were going to suggest where you would watch this, I mean, we might wait for the spoilers for that one, just because I'm just trying to think of like would you watch things chronologically or in terms of the release date, and if so, where would you place this in your watch?
Yeah, let's kick that on to spoilers.
Yeah, let's do that in spoilers. So should we talk about some of the other characters that were very much, well, obviously in this via the trailer?
Mr. Fury?
Mr. Fury.
Just Fury.
De-aged.
Not that they
Samuel
had
Jackson.
too much work to do on him.
No,
but
he looks
they
spectacular.
did a great job.
Flawless.
That's probably the best I've seen.
Flawless, man.
Yeah, and again, I think it comes down to like Sam Jackson as a 70-year-old looks a lot better than Kurt Russell does.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say how much work they actually put into it, but it's flawless what is there.
Flawless, man.
Like apart from his slight 70-year-old man walk and run, like he looks like a young dude.
It was absolutely crazy, man. And
Yeah.
I think the characterization of him felt young,
Yeah,
while still
totally.
felt like Nick Fury.
Yeah, a
it
little
really
less
did. Like
haggard.
you'd gone back 10, 15 years to when you'd first seen him.
Yeah. There were seconds. I mean, actually, like milliseconds where I would kind of look at a movement or a close up and be like, I think I can tell. But apart from that, like, I mean, it wasn't distracting. Other than like, as I said, like mere milliseconds. And because you knew that you were looking for it, I reckon if you took someone to that theater that didn't know who Samuel Jackson was, fuck, they might not even know.
And I liked how he's very much the sort of second tier. It's Captain Marvel in this, at least I felt. And you get a lot of stuff about Nick Fury and where he's come from and you just get a little more set up for that character. And I liked how they handled that.
Yeah, this is like by far the more information than we've gotten on him than through all of his other films combined.
And I love how he was positioned in this as kind of I suppose, the sidekick.
Yeah.
It was very much his position as the sidekick, and it was cool to see a Fury that isn't in control and doesn't know all. And
behind the scenes, pulling
Yeah.
all the strings.
yeah.
Yeah. Something else that really impressed me in this is Ben Mendelsohn.
Yes.
I really, really liked what he did in this.
Yeah,
And you
he
can't
was
really say
great.
much more than that.
When has Ben Mendelsohn not been like really
Rogue One.
solid in
Eh.
Rogue One? But I mean, was he what let that movie
No,
down? Of
no.
anything, like he.
Of course not.
He-
He's
his
always
performance in
great.
that was
He's
really
always
good.
great.
He choked on his aspirations. It's not his fault necessarily.
Ba-dum.
So the biggest note on his performance is he pretty much spoke completely with an Australian accent in the film.
Yeah.
So the Skrulls are evidently from Space Australia, like Jace from Dragon Ball
makes
Z,
so
which
much
I fucking
sense.
love.
It makes so much
But I
sense.
mean,
Somewhere it has to be.
I
Bloody
like
hell.
that because
Yeah, it's great.
No one thinks twice when an alien has either a British or an American accent.
Yeah.
Like that's completely normal.
Yeah,
but
same
someone
as
has
like a
an
Roman
Australian-
or a Viking or whatever.
Yeah,
It's just-
exactly.
That's
I mean,
the
like-
default.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, you talk to in an Australian accent and be like, why does the alien have an Australian accent? You're
I'll be
like,
very interested to see how it plays in other territories because I think there are a couple of chuckles here when he first started speaking.
Yeah.
I wonder how other people will take it, but I fucking loved it. I thought it was great.
so much fun, man.
And I think it helped his performance to be able to perform kind of naturally like that.
Yeah.
Completely. I will say, man, I will fucking say, my arch nemesis, Jude Law, I got to hand it to him. I really enjoyed him in this.
Yeah.
I really did. And I thought he did what he needed to do. And can't say much. I can't criticize him on this. I
He's
think
looking big in this.
Yeah, his forearm's pretty meaty.
Yeah.
Fucking huge.
The Law.
Yeah,
The Law.
I've always liked Jude Law. Like we play.
Genuinely don't understand your hate for him.
Dumbledore.
I think we play up your dislike for him, but you do seem to genuinely hate him a lot of the time.
I think there's a particular reason why I like him in this, and we'll get into it later on.
Yeah.
But I can't fault Dumbledore. I cannot fault him on this one.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think he was really solid.
Talking about de-aging, Clark Gregg
Agent
coming back
Coulson.
as Coulson.
Yep.
Not as spot on. The few little few little angles where I was like, okay, not quite as flawless, but still very, very well executed and really fun to see that character back.
I thought every shot he was in looked fantastic. It's just he looked different ages in a lot of different shots.
Yeah,
The first time
maybe
you see
that's
him,
what
it's
it
like,
was.
oh, it looks like Clark Gregg with a piece, hairpiece. And then later on, you'd be like, oh, fuck, he looks really young in this shot.
Yeah,
he does look like a newbie.
Yeah.
But I think that was the thing. Like, this is kind of what strikes me with this de-aging thing, is it really is about the amount of time and effort you're going to put into it. Like, the technology is definitely there. So, I mean, fucking Samuel Jackson looks spot on.
Yeah, it's time and desk.
Yeah, exactly. Clark, was it Clark?
Greg. Clark Gregg.
Sounds like a fake name. Sounds like
is only like in a few scenes, I'd say. He's obviously not going to get the same amount of time and effort that they put into Samuel Jackson. So it really does show, and what it kind of, the thing that immediately jumped to my brain was Mustache Gate for Justice League, and just saying like they could have definitely done a better job, but they just didn't have the time.
I don't know. I think that mustache is hard to get off a person's face. I think that was a tough one.
Look, if they can de-age Samuel Jackson and Clark Gregg and do all that kind of shit, they can fucking take off the mustache off Cavill.
It's one of those things where I think it's like it's easy to get a wrinkle. It's hard to create a top lip and a a nose, half a nose.
Well, people were able to do it in like 5 minutes with deep fake, so I take no excuses.
So
just get deep fake on everything, right?
Back on topic, as the world's biggest Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, it really warmed my little heart to see Agent Coulson back on the job. It's really the first instance in a long time, if ever, of the MCU really acknowledging the TV side of things. Which so
did they acknowledge it really?
Just the fact that just showing him, I feel like is a reminder of that character ever existing. And
they could have easily bypassed him in this.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does a lot of dealing, like more so than any other aspect of the MCU, has done the most fleshing out of the Kree and their story. So I don't know, just having Coulson in a Kree-related story.
Right.
And so there were some little bits that felt like some interesting connections. But I really appreciated that. And it makes me hope that with Disney really consolidating all this stuff, canceling all the Netflix things, maybe they will be able to bring things slightly back more into the fold under the Disney banner. But I love seeing him in here. It was just, he had some good moments.
Anyone want to talk about action scenes or anything else that stuck out? I thought the action scenes had, they weren't quite as spectacular as you sometimes get in some Marvel films, but they served a purpose, and I had some really great moments in it.
Yeah, I'd probably agree.
They didn't have that Russo brothers kick to them, like that absolute kick to the teeth, but I thought they were like extremely serviceable. And
I feel like we've been spoilt with the last couple films in Phase 3. Really,
yeah. I thought they were better than average for the MCU in a lot of instances.
And I felt like a little bit of variety, some stuff that we maybe haven't really seen before. Don't quote me on that, but it felt like there was some innovation going on.
None of it got tiresome, and I didn't get any kind of CGI weariness from it. I don't think it was overused or anything.
So I was literally about to mention that there were a couple of spots that. Why do you set me up like this? Like you say something that I'm about to like.
Sure, I do.
Disagree with,
sure,
and like it just makes me sound as if I'm just waiting for you to say something and be like, "Well, actually,
I think you'll find
it's the drill, bro. It's not a weekly drill.
Well, sort of. Fuck, I can't that video. There were a couple of spots where I thought the CGI was a little bit iffy.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying I didn't get, like, really fatigued by it. Like, it wasn't as laid on as heavy as some other these superhero things.
But there was certainly some points where I was like, this could have been done, if not better, maybe just not done at all.
But this being in a very similar situation to Black Panther this time last year, coming before a huge Avengers movie.
Looks way better than Black Panther.
Yeah, I don't think there are any moments of that really rubbery CGI characters on each other, which was really great. I agree. Really great to see. On your Animalogic.
Yeah. Again, I say only one scene that just sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it in spoilers.
Score was pretty by the numbers.
Yeah, there's a couple of 90s songs through
Yeah.
in there. We
So,
knew
well,
that was
the
gonna happen.
soundtrack I thought was great. Was a really not interesting, like fairly obvious selection of kind of 90s
But
tracks.
that could have been way more egregious.
Totally, and pretty much everyone that came on, I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm really into this."
Yeah.
The score itself, though, I thought was, like you said, by the numbers. A few of the more rousing moments I thought were pretty damn good, working, in conjunction with everything
There
else
was
going
some
on.
scoring at the end that I didn't like.
Mm.
And again, we'll get into that in spoilers. God, it's so hard to talk about this film without talking about spoilers. Because, I mean, in the marketing, they've kept really a lot of this film under wraps and kind of shushed up. So it's really hard to kind of figure out, what we're meant to be speaking about and what we shouldn't. Saying that, should we move on to spoilers? Or
Well, I just want to call out Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, the directors, quickly, because I thought they did I thought the direction was really on point for this film.
Yeah, me too.
Their previous film, Mississippi Grind, is really good. Also stars Ben Mendelsohn. Check it out if you haven't seen it. There was some flashback stuff in this movie that looked like it was shot on film.
Yes.
It was gorgeous. It was really cool.
I think it was film.
I don't know if it was like a filter or whatever.
It was either a great filter, or
it was gorgeous, and it was just a more interesting stylistic choice than you generally see in one of these MCU movies. Like changing format to represent something.
No, immediately the first images that came up on the screen, I was like, okay, this is different. And I'm really, you've already got me. Like within the first kind of 3 seconds of it starting, I felt like the way they did the mystery and the direction was very, very sophisticatedly handled.
Yeah.
This is a really well put together screenplay as well.
And they wrote it, I think, with one other writer, which is, I'd have to go through and look at the credits of every other MCU movie, but I don't know how often they do that. The director has a big hand in writing. James Gunn, obviously.
The Russos don't write. They didn't write Infinity Wars.
I thought they did.
No, there's those other two guys.
What is his name? Marcus McFeely and
Stephen
Oldmate.
I for some reason I thought the Russo brothers got some writing credits on that.
I don't believe so. Maybe a story credit.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe story credit. Yeah.
But that was cool. And Nicola Perman as well got a story credit on this. She did the story for Guardians, so I guess that helps tying that all together as well.
That would make sense to make sure that there's some continuity between those films. Anything else that kind of jumps out? I mean, overall thoughts maybe then?
Yeah, let's get into a wrap up.
Yeah.
You go.
No, you go.
I'll go.
Okay. No, I'll go.
I had an awesome time with Captain Marvel. All my apprehensions are gone. This is a really fantastic entry into the MCU. The mystery, I've said it already a couple of times on this, but that really is one of my favorite components of this and how it's handled. Some laughs, great action. Really, maybe a few nitpicks will come through in the spoilers and over the next few days, maybe subsequent viewings. But this is a really, really fantastic film, and I had a great time.
Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. Like I said, I was a little trepidatious going in. I don't think it's, the tippy toppest tier of the MCU. I think it's above average, top middle, which is enough to keep me very satisfied because my rating of the MCU as a whole is a lot higher than most people probably.
11 out of 10.
11 out of 10. The mystery, like you said, there's so much to this movie that we had not been given before. And I think maybe that's why the trailers were a little underwhelming for some, because there was not a lot of this movie in there, which is cool. And I like to see them do that. And I hope they really do that even more with Endgame. I think the female-led component of this was handled, as I said, very gracefully. I think the most ardent SJW hunters out there will find stuff to nitpick about this movie, no doubt. But I really don't think they beat it over the head at all. I think it was very natural. I think this was just done really well, just like I think Wonder Woman did a couple of years ago. And I think this is a better movie than that. So,
me too.
It was certainly less kind of blatantly stated than Wonder Woman, and even Wonder Woman wasn't that beat over the head type thing.
Yeah. So just all around, really happy with it so far. I'll probably watch this again this week, and then we'll see how I feel about it then.
So I tend to agree with you about where I'd kind of rank this within the MCU. I feel like this is kind of just above average in terms of the ranking. It certainly wouldn't break my top 5. Might enter my top 10. Maybe.
If it's above average, it kind of has to, right?
Doesn't how many are there?
20. This is 21st.
21.
God, maths. Yeah, so I suppose no, it wouldn't be top 5, but it'd probably be top 10, at least for right now. Like I said, there's some things that I'm still trying to figure out about this movie. Some things that weren't immediately satisfying, but I think that might age well. I could be wrong. We'll find out. But yeah, overall, really happy with this film. I think that I'm just thrilled that they didn't fuck it up. Make a big stumble before Infinity War. I will be incredibly interested to see how the general public reacts to this film, and kind of more trepidatiously interested to see how some of the fringes of the internet will react to this film.
Not well.
Well, almost certainly not well, but
I'm interested to see the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes on this one.
I think
they did some interesting things
strong.
in this last week, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes got rid of their want to see score because it was getting kind of review bombed on this film in particular. I think it was down in the 20s or something.
Yeah.
Which the want to see doesn't really mean anything, but it wouldn't have been pretty when it opened either. So
yeah. I happened to scroll through some. I do this more often now, I think, and it's a terrible thing to do. I scrolled through some. I think it was Instagram comments on one of the ad campaigns for that. It was a really cool. It was like what that old 3D thing where you cross your eyes on Instagram, like old 90s thing.
Nice.
And I was looking at some of the comments, and I was just like, some of you people got to get a life. I mean, seriously.
Start a movie podcast, guys.
yeah, be cool like us.
Yeah, it's just like people are like, I won't be seeing this film because a woman's in it. You're like, fucking seriously?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, some sad motherfuckers out there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll have our spoiler review up any moment, so go check that out. Maybe it's up right now. I don't even know. What year is it? 2025? It's still
It
live.
won't be up that much
Here we
longer
go.
than like we'll have it out in Australia before we. Blah.
Spoilers coming at you soon. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let us know what you thought of Captain Marvel. Hit us up on Instagram, the Facebook, and in the comments below. See you, Connor.
Bye.
See you, Benny.